Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're reviewing an Argentinian film, or film from Argentina, called Nocturna Side A, The Great Old Man's Night. Comes right off the top. All right. Let me introduce the crew with me tonight, starting off with award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I was expecting Cocoon, and I didn't get Cocoon.
Oh, my God.
No, you did not.
That's what I get for having expectations.
What?
Yeah, this
There's
was
no
so
glowy,
funny.
glowy old people in a pool.
I wish.
No.
That'd
There's
be
old people.
fun.
There is old people.
There are old people, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right. Also joining us is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing?
I'm great. This is definitely no Cocoon.
No.
Cocoon
this
wasn't
is-
near as sad as this movie.
No,
actually.
this is depression on film.
It's not batteries not concluded.
Batteries
Batteries
not included. Oh no! Stop. Grumpy old man. Whatever. Keep going.
Actually, Grumpy Old Man.
I
was
kind of
funny.
wish it was Grumpy Old Man.
I
Well,
enjoyed that movie, and
it
Margaret was really
Grumpy
cute.
Old Nocturna.
Yeah, there was a grumpy old man in here, but it just wasn't funny. All right. So what we're going to do tonight, other than roast this film, is we're going to give our first impressions of this film, Nocturna Side A, and then we'll keep that spoiler free, and then we'll get into a discussion about the film. That might get into spoilers, if there are any. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others we have on the site. Check them out and let us know what you think. Of course, if you want to help us out, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, or share with a friend, and we will be so happy that you did so. And thank you so much. Yes. Down there, somewhere around there. If you're listening, look on your phone. Those are great directions.
Or your computer.
Or your computer. That's true. That's true. But just
iPhone.
don't do it while you're driving.
Or do.
Or do.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say
It's a
that.
bad influence.
All right, let's take a look at what the card has to say about this. All right, Nocturna Side A from Breaking Glass Pictures, 2022, available on digital on January 18th and on DVD, released with the Nocturna Collection, arriving on February 1st. The collection there is a Side B to this. We were going to review both, but the timing didn't work out, so we were only going to do A, but Christopher has a little bit to say about B, and we'll get to that somewhere in this review. It's written and directed by Gonzalo Calzada. Close. Cast includes Marina Artigas, Lotaro Delgado, Mora de la Vecchia. Help me. Synopsis: Ulysses is a 100-year-old man battling for redemption on his last night on Earth. Faced with an imminent death, he is forced to rethink his past, his present, and his take on reality.
That tells you everything,
That-
actually. Tells you more than I thought.
That makes it sound more exciting than what it
Yeah,
is.
That too.
It actually sounds probably more accurate because it's more of a very emotionally driven, maybe not emotional, but emotionally driven drama about this man facing a lot of ailments and, like I said, at the end of the day. But there are supernatural, spooky elements involved with
Maybe.
perception, ghost, and whatever. Yeah, it's all in the mind. But it is.
Is it real?
Is it?
I don't
Is
know.
it? Is it? But we'll discuss all that. But before we do that, let's give our first impressions. And Crystal, you're up first.
Oh, yay. I'm so excited. Okay, so
Can I?
One of my least favorite things is an unreliable narrator, and basically that's what this whole movie is, an unreliable narrator. And oh god, I don't want to poop all over it because I think I only saw Side A, so I can only judge on this, but I think that there is a market for this, and I think some people will really like this sort of thing. But I'll just tell you, for me, this is just not my cup of tea. I don't like the unreliable narrator. I don't like sad movies about old elderly people with dementia and Alzheimer's, or a combination of both, or everything. And I don't like the idea of old elderly people, doing mean things to one another. And it's just a very odd, sad. It's such a sad and depressing movie. I can't stress it enough. I cried, and I'm not gonna lie, I cried. It hit me, and I was like, I hate this movie, but I hope that I never see it again, because it really made me super sad. It almost just makes you think that this dude's life was just garbage to me. Like, it's so sad how. But the filmmaking was okay. I think there were some shots that were nice. Some of the music I didn't love. The sound was okay. I didn't particularly like the editing, but I don't know if it was because of the editing or because of how this man's mind was working. I felt like even if you like this kind of movie, I still feel like there were many points that would still be kind of boring, because it's really relying heavily on this old man. Mm-hmm. And I just think that they're trying to play on his age and just trying to make it incredibly sad. And I mean, in that regard, it is effective. There is some horror moments, horror elements to it, and there is some death, so there's something there. But I hope that I never have to watch this movie again. But mainly because it's just not my thing, and I just think it's very sad and very depressing, and I just don't understand the purpose of it. It wasn't entertaining to me. It was just depressing. I came out of watching this feeling far worse than I did going in.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Christopher G. Mohr, you're up next. What was your first impression of Nocturna Side A?
I think it's funny that Crystal hates this film because it makes her feel human, because she emotes. Dare you make me emotional? You
That's actually true. Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's what I find hilarious. This film is like Up meets Sixth Sense. It is.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Minus the floating house and a little kid.
Squirrel.
But yeah. I mean, at its core, it does have some good elements that could really work well. I mean, I don't really have a problem with sort of the unreliable narrator. If it's done well, and I think it also that adds, when you're telling a story and there might be supernatural elements, that adds that extra layer, because then you're unsure of your own mind, or people are unsure of what you've seen, because if you're dealing with dementia or whatever, or if you see what you think is a dead person, they're going to automatically assume, oh, this person's he's just dementia. He's just seeing people from the past or whatever. So I mean, that element's cool. I mean, this film could have taken like 30 minutes out of it, just based on these long, drawn out. There's this music. What it sounds like, those meditation bowls. Like, boom, boom. There's people that hit those, and there's people on TikTok that have live feeds where they're just hitting it. Like,
I have those ones where you bring the things around. It's like,
and so about a third of this movie is these extreme close-ups of eyes and faces, and boom, boom, and other parts of the main characters flipping back and forth, which being their younger versions, which is kind of, I don't know. At some point, it's like, okay, now you're just like wasting my time. It's like, we get it. You guys were fell in love when you were kids, blah, blah, blah. But I think to me, that's just you're trying to pressure like emotion out of people by trying to do that. And it kind of stretches out the narrative to where this film was like, I think like an hour and 47 minutes or whatever. It easily could have been an hour and a half or less, just based on taking these, because there's just long, drawn out things every so often. It's like, and I guess we're trying to get in the mindset of this character who's trying to, calculate things and understand what's happening in his life. But so that was kind of frustrating to me. I mean, I think some of the weird effects they do around the supernatural things don't work. There's a there's a guy thing that's just stupid.
Oh yeah,
How
that
he
was.
does it.
Yeah,
And then they also try to do this thing where they overlap images when some characters are moving. That, I mean, I kind of see what they're going, but it didn't work for me. I mean, to me, it came down to the performance. And actually, the main guy, he's 92 years old. He's
in real life.
in real life, yeah.
Oh god,
So,
okay. He looks younger, honestly.
Yeah,
but
true.
but I think I think the actors play their parts well.
Yeah.
But by the end, well, I'll say I don't understand what kind of loving relationship this guy had, because
I don't think he did. I don't think he
by
did.
the
I think
end
that's
of
the
it,
problem.
I don't. By the end of it, I was like, you should have kicked her to the curb a long time ago. You should have stayed hidden. You should.
I think he might have actually.
Yeah.
Well,
That's up to debate, right?
Well, but I don't know. I think you're reading too much into it. I don't. I think there's not as much in there as what you think.
Okay.
But
I've got words. I have words.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I don't think this film is as deep as they probably want you to think. I think it's pretty simplistic, and I think in that simplism, if that's a word, it's a little bit. I don't know. I think when it gets to the emotion parts, I mean, there was one part that made me sort of emotional watching it, and just, because you see when you have a person who's gotten to this specific age and they deal with like things they really regret and stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to feel that, because I think as we're all getting older, we all regret stuff we've done in the past, and we should have done this, and do I have enough time to do this? And so I don't know. I think it's got some good elements to it, but overall, it doesn't really work as well as I guess they wanted it to. And I feel like they were just a little too precious with the going back and forth between the kids, and they're just the overuse of the doom and that. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I appreciate what they're doing with the story. I think if you pull the horror stuff out, this would have been like this heavily dramatic film. So, and I usually that's a good foundation for telling stories, but parts of it didn't work, and I won't even get started on part B. But
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well, you're going to jump into spoilers here. You keep going.
Yeah.
So let me just throw this out here. Okay. I'm kind of in Crystal's camp that this film made me incredibly sad and depressed, and I didn't really want that. But I found it to be a rather interesting essay on, Alzheimer's or dementia. The horrors are in his mind, and you're watching this guy have trouble discerning what year it is, what time it is, who's with him, who's not with him, what he's doing. There's literal times where he's like, "What is happening to me?" And then he sees himself, or he sees his wife as a different age. Matter of fact, if you pay attention, his wife is a variety of ages throughout the story. She's decrepit in bed. She's a little younger, walking around, and she's a variety. And then of course she's the child. Not too much in between those, but and then there's a number of things going on here that the character's is having struggling gripping with reality, what reality it is. And I found from the character's point of view, of course it's unreliable, but that's because of the nature of his mind, that I found it interesting. I just don't know if I like the end result. It just was incredibly sad, and I'm not sure what I was supposed to get out of it, but it did strike a nerve with me. I don't know if I got emotionally racked or anything, but I did get, I was kind of like, man, I don't, what am I going to do? I got to watch some cartoons or something. I got to cheer up.
Have y'all watched anyone die? I think this is the difference. Okay, so because when I watched my mother die, she did call out for her mother, and so that is what struck me, and I think what affected me the most.
Right.
Is how you have this grown. Sorry, I'm getting into it.
Yeah, we're getting into it. Let me
Yeah.
wrap up real quick saying that I thought the cinematography, actually, I really had a good time with cinematography. I thought it was lit really, really well, and I liked the direction, the shots. I do agree with Christopher. There were some times when they were trying to illustrate this wispiness to one character, whether she, how many of her there was, or what direction she was going, or whatever. As reality perhaps was falling apart around him, and I didn't care for that effect. But at the same time, when it came to the hallway and running toward the door, anytime there was a character at the door banging on, I was that. When I said to her before the pre-show that it spooked me out, that's when it spooked me out. Whenever there was banging on the door, I kind of got it. But so this movie is a little, This movie is a little bit of a tricky beast because it's. I mean, there's a lot going on here.
I understand the point of it. You do understand that the whole thing is, it's all about the circles. It's all about, they're becoming children again, essentially, as they're dying. No, because like what he tells her, it's ridiculous. He runs off and tells her to hide under, Doc, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. He tells her to hide under the bed. They're grown adults. They have someone at the door coming to get them. He said, go hide under the bed. That's what children do.
Right. I think you and I are saying the same thing. And
they like,
I'm just saying that he's having trouble figuring out what
sad.
What age they are, what year it is, and all these. Some of the things I think we were experiencing, which feel out of order, are because he doesn't know where what time he's in. So
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice his wife changing ages. No, other than being a child. I didn't notice that at all.
It's subtle. Her hair is different. The clothes change a little bit. It's very subtle.
Well, he changed clothes though too.
Yeah. So, but we're in spoilers now. But of course, as we get into spoilers, we realize that she's not really there anyway.
I thought she was a ghost the whole time.
I did too.
It's in. I thought it was in his mind.
Yeah.
I didn't. But he there is a part of the story where he's hearing something on the TV about where people, as they close into death,
or elephants,
they establish this connection to ESP, extra sensory perception.
Well, that was about elephants.
Well, the thing is, like,
but he was applying it to himself.
If she was in his mind, then why is he's able to talk to her after he's dead?
I think he was seeing ghosts because he saw Elena too. He saw Elena, and he's like, he let her. He had to see ghosts because when he saw Elena, it wasn't just he guided her. He's like, it's okay. He showed her that she was dead, and he said, you could be free now. I think if she had just been in his head, he wouldn't have let her. He was accepting his own death, and then he was showing her that she was dead and she could let go and be free.
Yeah. So the wife could have been a ghost, but it was. Again, he was seeing her at different ages.
Well, I think there could have been some mixture of that, but to me, it's like when he's watching those people walk around the apartment, his dead body's in the other room, and then he ends it with him finally saying, "We can leave now." To me, that just proved that she was dead. But
and she's like, I can't. She was just afraid. I think. I think with them showing them when they were kids, I think they missed the mark a little because I think what they were trying to do is show how, as they were children or as they were younger, how they were so in love and had such a good relationship, and then how soured it became as they went through the years. Because even she says to him, I didn't want it to be this way. She didn't want their relationship to turn out as horrible as it did, or as bad as it did. Or
because I feel the one scene where she fell against the furniture, there's two ways to interpret it. One is I think that was he was remembering what happened to her ages ago or years ago. Or two, that was happening to him at the time, because he also, when they find him, when the son shows up at the door toward the end of the film, he's lying in the floor next to that piece of furniture with his head, where he
that could be it too.
So I chose the first one as watching it, that he and potentially he's wondering, like, what did he do, and there's a couple things that he had a strained relationship with son. He hadn't talked to his daughter in years, and possibly hurt his wife in the past, right? Because they had that one encounter, right? That so it's I don't know. I found it very interesting.
I
And
think
then of course when I'm sorry, and then when
no,
the
no, go
daughter when the daughter's on the phone with the son, and she goes, "Well, he just called me," and he was like, "You can't. He was dead."
Well, but he was in front of the phone.
Right.
That's where his body
She
was.
said she heard him on the phone.
Right.
Yeah. Did you? So actually, I think he didn't die in front of the mirror. He died on the phone because you saw he had the phone
Yeah, the
in his
receiver in his
hand.
hand.
Yeah. So it wasn't in front of that mirror. That wasn't
Okay.
possible.
Okay.
But I could see how you could think that. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
sometimes
that
the location of the house was
kind of
weird.
confusing.
Yeah,
it's
they
kind of
didn't establish it
big
very well.
apartment. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I think by the end of it, it kind of made me feel bad for him.
yeah.
You know, because I feel like by the end of it, I didn't really believe that he was. I mean, I think with him having the big realization by the end, I would have said, "See you later, lady. I'm going to this other part of heaven." But because to me, that kind of soured the whole movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because they made it out to be this huge loving relationship or whatever, and then you find out that she's been like
Keeping the daughter from
keeping
him.
stuff from him and
Mm-hmm.
being mean to him, and then like so he's not doing anything. So to me, it's like what's the point of this
Right.
movie if they're
But
not?
but is it her or is it his memory of her? And he's I don't know. You can like you said
Typically,
you accused me of this earlier. I was
typically
pushing a lot more
when
onto
we
it than
Well,
it
no, I mean,
remember
I guess we can
people-
all. I mean, I guess that's the interesting thing of this. You can interpret it any way or whatever. To me, I interpreted it as just she being a real shit to
Yeah.
him,
Mhm.
and he realizes when he's turning 100 or he's turned 100 that he's basically wasted his life with this woman who
yeah.
made him not be
Not have a relationship with his daughter and
Yeah.
well, and here's the thing, like I typically when we have memories of people, we don't make them worse off, we romanticize them in our brain. That's why when we leave a relationship down the line, we think, oh, it wasn't so, because you think about the good, not as much the bad. So the odds of it just being him making the memories worse would be very low, at least if they're thinking from a psychological standpoint. That's just not as normal as it would be. I think that he's partially to blame for the way that their stuff turned out, though, too, because you heard her say when the dad heard about it, he was so mad she had to like calm him down and all that stuff. And I mean, they are both old; they're from a different time, and it's of course we would think, God, they turned their daughter away for that. That's ridiculous and stuff. But I don't know what their life has been like or why they did, but. He needed to talk. I have a feeling he just didn't talk to his wife at a point. No. I think he wanted things and just didn't talk to her. He's just as much to blame. He could have picked up the phone and called his daughter at any point, and he didn't.
No, I think he realizes that.
Yeah. That's his own fault. Like he finally stood up to her at that point when didn't matter.
Well, that was the purpose of the whole female ghost. It's like he's not allowed other people to come into his life. He made her he allowed her to sort of rule his life and the decisions that he made. And I think by the end of it, he realized that's when he should have allowed himself to open up more instead of feeling so reined in.
Did anybody else get the impression that Elena's death happened years ago, not during the time of the story, and that he's just remembering it at a different time?
Well, I think she's been dead for a while. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. I don't know. The only reason I don't think so is because it was the catalyst for that guy calling his son, because he got into the apartment and smelled the gas. So not necessarily, actually.
Okay.
No, if you pay attention to the guy when he comes in the house, he's automatically, you can see he's obviously not hearing anything. I think it's like one of those Sixth Sense moments where you realize the person's
not the wife, Elena. He's talking about the neighbor.
Yeah, the neighbor. Yeah, I figured I don't know.
Yeah, the wife. No, the wife. Yeah, for sure.
She died long time, but I was going to go somewhere else with this, but I guess.
But yeah, well, I think I'm after Sixth Sense. I'm always skeptical when you have one person who's
Yeah,
never
talking.
seen by other people.
Oh, I know where I was going to go. So what made me think what I'm saying about Elena is that, you know, he had the realization, because he obviously his wife wasn't there, so he had to be speaking for her. Is that he realized that even though he talked about the neighbor or the superintendent, you know, congratulating him on the newborn, that the newborn was already 5 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
That he realized that he had to have realized that himself. She wasn't there to really tell him. She's a figment. So that's why I was kind of thinking that, you know, he's having trouble going in and out of realizing what's going on.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on
know,
that. But it wouldn't. The guy came into the apartment specifically
and smelled
because
gas.
of that and
Well,
smelled the gas,
well,
and that's
I-
when he called son.
But
yeah.
but I'm thinking ghost rules. I think the ghost would know that, you know, that the guy had the baby 5 years ago. So I thought the character.
Oh,
was
yeah,
the ghost.
okay.
Yeah, still
I didn't
too.
think, I didn't
yeah.
see that as a memory.
Well,
thing.
well,
I could,
that's
I
true.
I could see that way too. So
Yeah, either way. He clearly had a lot. He clearly should not have been on his own. The son should have been called in far sooner. This is what's so sad to me. It's like they ruin their relationship with their kids, and then he's all alone, and he's clearly losing it and can't take care of himself.
And very stubborn,
And
like most are. So.
just like she is, and just how they revert back to childhood. And then my mom did the same thing. She called for her mom when she was dying. It was just like, it's so, I guess because of how real that part is, it really affected me and made me think about my mom, because the whole calling for the mom thing, that's when I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's so sad. It's because you really do like kind of revert back to childhood. Him telling her to hide under the bed, I mean, really? Like, you're grown women, grown adults. You know that hiding under the bed doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well,
because you notice she. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say,
okay.
you noticed that her mobility changed too. There were times where she had the walker, time where she was walking by herself, and then
Okay, yeah.
then at one point there was multiple versions of her walking around the kitchen. Right, there was one in the hallway in the back, and then one going out the.
Well, I never
back
thought
of the
she was
bedroom.
real ever. The whole time I didn't either. I thought she was a ghost, or
That's
I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's kind of where I went with, you know, that he was seeing her at different ages, different times. Because there was time when, you know, she was. Well, anyway, I'm going to, like I said, I'm reading way more into it, or maybe I'm not. I don't know. It's I got into it, but at the same time, I'm very much. Wow, this movie is so heavy.
I think for a lot of horror,
enjoy it.
I know a lot of my horror movie friends would hate this movie.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, this isn't horror. To me, or to them, it's not horror. They wouldn't like it. They would think it's too heavy, too deep. So I think it has a place.
Yep.
I think it has a place with artistic horror movie lovers.
Yeah, the elevated film. I think it's a film festival favorite. I would imagine. I would say this would really hit, and I think Jeff Mohr would love it. So.
Oh, I do too. It's just it's very heavy.
Yeah. It's very heavy. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, Christopher, you were the only one of us that struggled through the part B. I think Crystal and I both were like wiped out by part A, that we couldn't do it.
I did turn on part B. Okay. And I saw the guy. And once I saw his face, I was like, oh my God. And then I watched a little bit of it. And then when he started calling out for mommy, that's when I turned it off. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm just far too depressed. I really was super depressed.
I couldn't get into it. I couldn't even turn it on. I was like, no,
it's too much for me.
I don't know what I'm going to do. But anyway, in a couple sentences or so, what was side B like?
It's almost like an experimental expansion of a lot of the themes and elements from the movie. Is a better way to put it. I mean, it's shot very like extremely artistically, to where it's almost like 16 millimeter shots of the characters and scenes from the movie, and it's divided up in segments. And so like one thing maybe we focus on him when he's like in the hallway, he's forgotten, and then they're playing like elephant noises because elephants never forget. And then there's another thing where it's like the the ghost girl, and she's going back and forth, and it's all these flashes between things, and it's even shot almost like you're looking at a close up of the frame from a piece of film in a projector, and there's scratches on it. And it's like all these weird angles, and sometimes it's going in and out of focus, and so it's very artistic. It's really not a narrative film. It's just like all these different sort of artistic musings on elements and themes from it. There's a narration by characters in certain parts. So it
feels like a B-roll.
Yeah.
Basically that's what it feels like to me, like those B-roll type things you see like with movies, behind the scenes stuff. So some people may appreciate that. I hate those type of things, so it's definitely not my cup of tea, but I think New York Times kind of liked it, so it's up for you. I mean, but if you're looking for the more narrative stuff, stick with part A, because part B is really, there's nothing to it other than just the weird artistic.
Yeah, because it's only an hour and 7 minutes, so it's
it's very weird.
I just couldn't handle any more of this story. No points. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's get our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. Crystal, you are up first.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like, I was super depressed after this movie. I'm trying to not let that affect, like, how I'm, like, rating it or how I feel about it, because I do think there's a place for this kind of stuff, and I admire them trying to make something different, and it's a thing. It's just not my thing. So I'm going to give it... This is a hard one, guys. Hard one. A 3. I'm going to give it a 3, actually.
Okay.
Because I think that there was a lot of work put into it. I think the actors did a great job. I think that there is a cohesive yet completely incohesive story, but that it is cohesive. I get it. Yeah. I mean, just for the film itself, I think it deserves that. I can't believe I gave it a 3.
3, huh? Okay.
I still never want to see it again. My favorite scene is, it really did kind of touch me when with Elena, the neighbor who passed, when he led her and like showed her body and told her she could go. I don't know why it made sense to me as far as like, that's what he's dealing with too. He's trying to feel that in himself, but it was a little touching without being too heavy there. That was good. That was my favorite. I think she did a great job too. That neighbor. I mean,
my God,
I think that all the acting in this is great. Even the all of it was good. So yeah, this is not for everyone, but some people I bet will be like, oh my God, so fabulous.
Yeah. There's
people who like to feel things,
emotions and shit. Yeah. All right, Christopher. What was your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
How dare you make me emote? I don't know. Parts of this feel like if you took the supernatural elements out, it would feel like this would be something that would be up for Oscars or something, because it's just it has that sort of like dour and sadness about it. You see this guy who's really unsure of his life and the people in it, and you just feel really sad for this guy. It definitely makes you reevaluate your own life.
Yeah, it does.
And because you get these little glimpses of how he's kind of bored with his life and his wife or ghost wife or mind wife or whatever she is.
Mind wife. I love that.
Mind wife. But there are some, there's a really cool supernatural thing that happens at the very beginning when when you hear like the noises, in the back patio and stuff.
Yes. Oh my God.
That works kind of well. Or like you mentioned, her coming at the door and stuff. I think that fall into that sort of horror supernatural type film. But I feel like the film feels like they've stretched out certain elements. I think anytime they'd add like them turning in their kids, it slows everything down. It's like, oh, we need to make this moment even longer, or like we have those mental moments where like boom, boom, boom. Not just the NBC thing for no reason. It doesn't do NBC, but that'd make it funny if it was. but they're just like extreme close-ups, and so the film is shot competently, and there's some really, I mean, the lighting, because there's certain scenes where he's like in the foreground on a table, and there's like green lighting in the background.
There's really good, it warms and
there's
cool.
Yeah, and even though I think it was a little, extraneous, but the close-ups are shot really well. So I think them turning into kids just felt at some point it kind of pulled me out of the narrative. And actually sometimes it pulled me out of the emotion of the moment too, because those kids are not as accomplished actors as the adults are.
That's true.
And just seeing them wearing adults, it felt like that. What was that movie back in the day where they were pie fights?
Bugsy Malone? Are you going with Bugsy Malone?
It felt like Bugsy Malone.
Because the clothes looked big on him or something, didn't it?
Yeah. This? Holy shit!
No, that's what it felt like. It turned into Bugsy Malone, where she's wearing like her outfit and I don't know. I was like, this feels like a child's play. Let's go back to the adults again, because that's where the strength is. Because the main actor, and I think he's amazing.
Yeah,
the guy's like 92, so I think he pulls off the performance of his lifetime or whatever in this. But I think the story elements, the insureness of everything, and how they pull off some of the supernatural things don't really work for me. And I know me and Doc had sort of a different perspective. My perspective made me mad. It's like, maybe you should have died before 100, because I just feel like the whole relationship was a sham. So I will.
It's a tough one.
I'll give it a 3.25.
Oh, yay!
Nice.
So I'll be a little bit nicer than Crystal, because I don't mind to emote. I'm a grown man. I'll cry if I want to. And I actually the scene that I'm gonna pick is actually the scene that made me emote the most, and that's when he finally calls his daughter.
Yes,
and it's a very simple scene. You don't even you just see like the doorway, and the camera like slowly moves, and you don't even see him on the phone. You just hear it.
Yep.
And I think it's a moment where you don't necessarily have to show. You know what I mean? And that's more emotional than boom, showing all these close-ups of eyes and faces and stuff like that. Or we gotta turn it back into kids again. Bugsy Malone time. So I'll
Is
say
that Paul Williams over there?
Yes. Where's the pie guns? But anyway, so I think that's my favorite scene, is and the scene that actually was the most emotional for me.
Yep, me too.
It really was that. So I enjoyed the film, but I didn't enjoy the feeling. So I'm a little bit more in Crystal's camp with a 3 as what I'm going to give it. But I really was impressed with the cinematography, a little bit more so than what Crystal was saying. And you mentioned it earlier. There's some really strong lighting composition. For depth of field and difference of what's happening in one room versus the other, where one is active and the other is passive, and it's just really fascinating. And of course, the lighting on the faces they took a lot of care with that, and it looked really, really good. Especially his face had so much character, right? And he was great. So the acting was great, but it's just oh my god, it's so heavy and weighs so much on you. And if you've lost I lost my dad in a similar way that you're talking about, Crystal, and it can really could trigger. Yeah, it's a little much. So it wasn't enjoyable in that respect, but I enjoyed the craft. It was flawed, like Christopher was saying. Some of the choices with the ghost didn't work as well, and that might be us being spoiled on all the films we see. I don't know. But at the same time, so I'll wrap that part of it up and say I'm going to actually kind of go with 2. They involve the same person, but anytime Eleanor was at the door, really got my hair going on the back of my neck. But what I liked more than that was when he was in her studio upstairs.
Me too. When he saw the photos.
Yeah, so cool. Right. And then saw her come in and they had a discussion, and she leapt out the window, which was a great
Yeah.
shot. It's not an original shot. We've seen that shot in other movies, but it was really well done. And then, of course, she reappears, and it kind of that was the moment when the film kind of really started to gel and become a whole piece. And so that scene is probably the scene that stood out for me. But Christopher's right with that emotional scene. And then another emotional scene, I think, was between the son and the daughter at the end.
You mean the mom, the son and the mom, his mom?
Well, he called the daughter his sister.
That's what
he called his sister up, and she was saying that he called.
Oh, you mean the son and the daughter?
Yeah,
oh,
the
okay.
son and the daughter.
Oh,
At the
see,
very end.
I
At the
felt
very end.
nothing about that. The son felt like a.
Well, he was a douche, yeah, but it was just
Yeah.
They were what they were anyway.
But him and his mom. Oh, okay, too much for me too. Too much for me. That part where he was talking to his mom, I was like, the people that made this movie. Okay.
When the 92-year-old was when the mom shows up, yeah.
Yep.
You get to see him as a kid with his mom in the side B part. So
Nice. All right, well, there you go. That's our review for Nocturna Side A. There is a Side B, and both of those will be on the Blu-ray compilation or the DVD compilation. I imagine it's Blu-ray at this point. So check those out and let us know what you think down below. Christopher, thank you so much for joining me. Of course, it's Crystal G. Mohr, right?
Yeah.
Just shove you guys together.
Yep. Word.
powers activate.
Yeah, like finger ring.
The
Oh,
power
God. We're
of
such
glass of
jerks.
tea. What? Then the one on water, and the other one was I don't know.
It'd be like
The Wonder
Mountain
Twins,
Dew
right?
and a troll.
Are we talking about?
Yeah. I don't know what the Wonder Twins are. It probably is the rings, but I just know the ring.
No, they had the rings, and then they had.
Because that's a thing.
Yeah, one would always
people
be
does.
something water oriented, and the other person would be like an animal.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So you would become like some horror creature, and I would be Diet Mountain Dew or something.
There you go. Yeah.
Diet Mountain Dew. All right. Well, now that we've educated our audience with that, let's say good night.
Good night. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Gruesome Magazine.